If you follow the news at all, you've probably heard of the ongoing protests surrounding the death of George Floyd at the knee of white Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. His death sparked outrage across the United States and beyond virtually overnight. For days after, protesters clashed with police officers and the National Guard in some of the most intense demonstrations in recent history. During these demonstrations, the term "all cops are bastards" has become a powerful symbol against the institution of policing, but the term has actually been around for a while now. It was first used in mid-20th century England by workers on strike. Since then, its meaning has shifted to what it represents today, a short but powerful way to let the world know that abuses of power by authority figures will not be tolerated any longer. But there's some confusion over what "all cops are bastards" actually conveys. ACAB does not mean each individual cop is bad. Instead, it refers to the system of policing and justice itself, which is often corrupt and biased against people of color. Black Americans make up only 13% of the US population, but account for roughly 31% of all police-caused deaths. They also account for 39% of people killed by police without having attacked. It shows that Black people are disproportionately the target of police violence. And the way policing is approached might have something to do with that. Communities with statistically higher rates of crime are labeled as murder capitals or high-risk areas, which causes police departments to increase their presence there. The focus shifts away from helping the community to containing the problem and increasing enforcement, none of which is great for police relations. Yet, the culture in many police departments makes it hard for any one cop to speak out about any injustices they see for the fear of being humiliated or outright fired. In the George Floyd case, there were 3 other officers on the scene. 2 held Floyd down while the other stood by watching. None of them tried to stop Chauvin as Floyd repeatedly begged for air, and a deeper look might explain why. To Thao was the second most experienced officer there, yet he had joined in 2012, giving him 8 years of experience. Alexander Kyung joined the force in December of last year, while Thomas Lane had only joined the MPS 4 days prior. This was his 4th shift with the police service, and Derek Chauvin was his field trainer. Out of the 4 officers on scene, Chauvin was by far the most experienced, which could explain the reluctance of the other 3 officers to speak out against him. It is this complacency to a broken system that gives rise to the phrase "all cops are bastards." The messed up institution of policing makes all cops bastards. Today, a 911 call for something like domestic violence, mental health crises, or rape will usually be responded to with a standard duty police officer, the same officer that responds to everything from speeding infractions to armed assailants. An officer who has likely undergone the generic training course given to all police. In most states, that training lasts around 600 to 1,000 hours, though some departments do provide additional training beyond that. But it doesn't change the fact that 1,000 hours is far from enough time for anyone to become a specialist in every possible situation. So instead, the training tends to focus on officer safety, ensuring that they go home alive at the end of their shift.
We might call it assisted suicide, because the one that dies next might be you, yes?
They're trained to always be on guard, and that complacency kills. They are shown tape after tape of police officers being beaten, attacked, and killed in the line of duty. Their training instills an overriding sense of suspicion and fear. They're told that a suspect reaching into their car is reaching for a gun, and it results in tragedies like the one depicted in The Hate U Give.
Go back.
Yo, but come on, why you messing up my car?
Just listen to him, Khalil.
Hey, all right, chill.
Innocent people being shot by paranoid cops doing what they were trained to do. Many policies that try to curb the problem have been put into place, but more often than not, they fail to prevent the shoot first, ask later instinct that the institution has bred within police. Like in Breonna Taylor's case, Louisville has a warning before shooting policy in place, but that didn't stop police from shooting her in her own bed. Or in Floyd's case, where Minneapolis's duty to intervene policy did nothing to compel the other 3 officers to stop the wrongdoing in front of their eyes. The truth is, in court, the defense that a police officer was feeling threatened and acted in self-defense is often enough to acquit them of any charges under these policies, and as a result, not much has changed even as the same story repeats itself over and over again. You might have heard some talk over defunding the police.
Many are now demanding departments be defunded.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
You're seeing more and more of the slogan, defund the police.
It's hard to imagine modern cities without any police force since they've been around for so long. But in reality, they aren't always the best responders for a lot of the situations they're being asked to respond to. And while increasing training could help correct for some of the racial biases and better equip police, some are calling for an entirely different approach altogether. Defunding the police. In Minneapolis, the police received the most funding out of all service departments. That is, fire, medical services, and the like. In 2019, it accounted for $184.9 million of spending, putting it just below public works like the water system. In comparison, health services, including things like youth violence prevention, accounted for 1%, or $24 million. In many cities, funding for other services have been redirected to increasingly militarized police departments. So when some say defund the police, they mean reducing their budgets and rerouting the money into programs and incentives that serve the community. This could include youth programs, safe injection sites, and a whole host of tools that the community could use to heal itself. It also means more funding for non-policing roles like social workers who can better respond to certain types of calls. Some cities have already begun exploring these alternatives with some success. In Eugene, Oregon, 1/5 of 911 calls are responded to by a medic and crisis worker duo instead of a police officer. This program, named Cahoots, cost the city $2.1 million per year compared to the $90 million police budget. Other cities like Washington, New York, and Denver have also begun exploring Cahoots as an alternative to straightforward policy responses. By sending specialists instead of armed cops, this approach could increase the chance of positive outcomes and improve community relations in the process. There's still a long road ahead of America before we can say the injustices in the system have truly been addressed. Whether you searched for this video or not, trying to educate yourself about the issue is a solid first step. But it doesn't stop here. This video was an attempt to point you in the right direction in this incredibly complex and pressing issue. You should continue to do your own research to really understand what causes the problems we are now confronting, because it's only by educating ourselves that we have a chance to end the cycle. Thanks for watching.